In 1969, a group of writers on a literary lark, they all teamed up to write Naked Came the Stranger. 25 years later, 13 Florida-based writers pay homage with their own collaboration, Naked Came the Manatee. Set in Florida, this crime novel was passed chapter to chapter from one writer to the next. Joining me now, three of its contributors, Pulitzer Prize-winning humorist Dave Barry, who sets the plot in motion with a manatee named Booger, and crime fiction writer Elmore Leonard, who helps wrap up the book, but not before adding two new characters. Novelist Carl Hiassen, who faces the unenviable task of tying up the loose ends in the final chapter. We're going to talk about this project now. I'm pleased to have these three outstanding men of letters join us for this conversation. Welcome.
Thank you.
And my apologies because you had to wait, so let's get that on the record. Dinner is on me. Just go anywhere in New York, you know, have a great time.
That's like on television he's saying that.
Yeah, we leave. Yeah. We'll be at the Hojo's.
You'll be
fried clams at the Hojo's, that's right.
All right. How did this project get started? Who takes responsibility? Do you, Mr. Barry?
Actually, my editor at the Miami Herald Sunday Magazine, Tropic Magazine, and I, mostly him, thought of this idea because there are a bunch of writers living in South Florida, Carl being one of them, and Dutch spends time in South Florida and has placed some of his novels there. So we thought it'd be fun to like bring them all together in one book and publish it as a serial novel. And so I wrote the first chapter, and at that point we didn't even have a title or anything. And if we'd known how you pronounce
Booger.
Naked,
we would have done it.
You would have made me a character, or I would have written a chapter. I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, it's like we've been used to people saying
not
naked. No,
it's not naked.
No, I like naked, and I'm from now. I'm going with naked.
Yeah, the right way.
That's the way you say it.
That's the way we always say it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody else would go naked.
Oh, naked.
You know,
Yeah, that
naked.
It would have changed. I don't know from naked.
If we'd have known it was naked, we would have written a little different. But anyway, so that
you would have written a better book.
A much better book with more Yachtna Bacalfa County or whatever it's called. Anyway, so I wrote the first chapter and then handed it off, and then ultimately it went to Dutch and then Carl. So I had an easy job.
But in between, we've got James W. Hall, Edna Buchanan, Les Standiford, Paul Levine, Brian Antoni, and many, many, many more.
Yeah. Norman Mailer.
Updike.
Bill Styron, John Updike.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
They're lying, guys. These are lying South Florida boys.
Well, we're trying to sell some books.
Now, but let me just make the idea came because of the thing was done out on Long Island. This Naked came the.
No, that actually was. I mean, we knew of that, and the title came as Les Standiford thought of the title as a result of that. But really, it was more. The idea was. I think that was a deliberate spoof on a genre, and this was, we didn't know what it was going to be.
Didn't know where it was
really,
going.
Nobody had a clue. And in fact, it didn't go anywhere where I expected it to go. After I wrote, I kind of had this idea where everything was going to, happen with just my characters and just the setting I put it in, and it ended up going all over the place, as you know. So it was interesting to see how it turned out.
Each writer, added characters, and then, so the cast got bigger, and it was like a Broadway musical by the end of the book because everybody was bringing new characters in.
Yeah. So this work for you?
Yes. Was it work, did you say?
Yeah. Was it fun? Did it work
yes,
for you
sure.
as an idea you had tried before?
Not an idea that I've ever tried before, nor
ever tried.
But yes, it was certainly.
Let's get truth
it
out
was
here.
Fun, and I'll tell you, this tour is. It was worth it to do this tour with
the three going around.
Yeah.
That may be a show in your future.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I've never had more fun on a book tour than I've had on this one.
Why is that?
Well, because I don't have to take any responsibility for the book. It's like, I just wrote a chapter.
None of us do. We got 10 other people we can lay off.
If it doesn't work, blame James W. Hall.
Absolutely. That's what I would go for. Yeah.
Does that be your choice?
No, he's a friend of mine. No, Jim.
But I want to point out that, I mean, we don't mean to put the book down. It's a wonderful book, and as we've been saying to people, it's got 3 severed Castro heads in it, which is, as far as we know,
a first.
You look down the whole New York Times bestseller list, you are not going to find total combined that many severed. It's also got manatee sex in it.
There is some manatee sex.
Manatee sex is in this, isn't it?
Yeah, there is.
Now, how do we know about manatee sex?
Well,
Well, we're not saying, Carl does live alone in the Keys, but we're not saying...
Let me just say that...
Does he have a personal knowledge of
Well,
manatee?
I was born and raised in South Florida, and I have had occasion to witness
Sex among
from
manatees.
afar, sex among manatees, and they do that like they do everything, which is very slowly and deliberately and without much commotion. So it's a hard. You're not even sure what you're watching when you're watching it, and there's no great orgasmic splash or anything. But it's quiet. It's a dignified kind of.
It is.
It's
sex.
tender.
It's
Well,
sensitive.
If nothing, we know that it's slow because they can't help but be slow. And this is one of the problems with having a manatee as your main character in the book, is that this is not a Lassie type of character or even a Free Willy like a killer whale.
Yeah, like if Timmy, the little farm boy, got in trouble and relied on a manatee to run back to the farmhouse, you know, after about 2 hours, the manatee would be maybe a yard from Timmy, you know, and would not think to scratch on the screen door when it got there anyway. They're not, you know, the rocket science.
It was a problem dealing with the manatee as a sort of a heroic, you know, folk animal hero, because they're...
Assuming that it's the hero, that it's
Well,
the
yeah,
main
we don't
character.
we can give too much away, but that's because it could be distracted by something as simple as a head of lettuce put in front of it.
Suppose someone doesn't know what a manatee is. Elmore, what would you
Don't
tell
you
them?
describe the manatee in the first chapter?
Yeah, it's a huge, it's a cow-like animal. It's actually, its closest living relative is the elephant. It's like a sea-going elephant, and it has flippers instead of feet.
Yeah.
And it's it basically just kind of eats.
Well, it does one other thing, but it precludes that by eating. And it's herbivorous, and actually the slang name in Florida, everyone calls it a sea cow, because that's what it looks like. They're quite massive, and they're gentle, and
And they have a way of getting in front of fast-moving watercraft.
Sadly, they're endangered because of this.
They get run over by motorboats all the time. So there's all these signs, manatee area down, but neither the manatees nor the motorboaters are really picking up on this. So there's fewer manatees at all
every year.
all the time.
Yeah.